Hi, welcome back to Down the Shed. So we're going to make a really simple kit in this one. So we're going to do the little hand crank generator. There's not really a lot to do to this, it's more of a build project. Basically two wires that need soldering and that'll be pretty much it. So quite well laid out diagrams, although on step 6 I would suggest putting the little feet on first, like I already have, and they're just self-adhesive. It says short screws and it's pointing to them, but I think the short screws are for something else. So anyway, let's crack on. Right, so here is the board. Step 2 has, these are all laser cut wood jobbies, so that's the first part of step 2 there. Some of them pop out really easily, and some of them don't. You've got to be careful with them because you don't want to break them. So just literally wiggling them about, loosen them in their frames. Just be very gentle where they're. There we go. Right, so this piece goes in here by the look of it. And they have given us a little emery board, double-sided, just to clean up these bits where they left a little piece that's not cut like that. I'm just literally cleaning up these edges. Now this should go in here, like that. Now it's quite firm in there, but they have also given us a little pot of glue. So I'm just going to glue literally everything. That is quite firm, and now we'll just give this a little dab of glue on each side, like so, and we'll slide it back in, like so. Now I don't know how long it's going to take this glue to go off. I'm assuming it's wood glue, so it could be like a 24-hour jobby. But that's the part in. So that's step 2, or step 1. Step 1 is just telling you short screws and long screws. So like, well, you can see the difference between short and long screws. There's 5 of each. There's 3 pins. I think we only need 2, but we'll come back to that. So step 3 is, right, it doesn't actually tell you, but it appears to be both of these sections, which that one's just fallen out quite nicely, and so's that one. So again, we'll just clean off those areas. So that's that one, and that's that one. So it appears that these are going to go together, and they slot in there, and then they'll obviously wedge into this piece. And it tells us on step 4 to run the glue along. So like the last one, where these parts here slot in, I'm just going to give these a bit of a sanding off, just to see if they'll go in any easier. Hence we're gluing them anyway. There we go. So they fit in nicely like that, but we have to glue them now. So we'll pull them back out. We'll run the glue along these bottom edges and into the corners here, like so. It doesn't matter if it spills out a little bit, it just gives it a bit more anchorage. So there's the glue. Oh, it went in easy before I put the glue on. Alright, there we go. So just push that in, give it some pressure from the other side, push hard, and we'll just run that along the edge a little bit like it shows us in the diagram. So there we are. It's glue that will dry nice and hard. Wood glue literally dries stronger than the wood. So if you try breaking this apart, you'll snap the wood before you snap the glue joint. Right, so that's stages 2 and 3 and 4, which is basically 1, 2 and 3. We now have our board with the, what looks like the mounting for the hand crank. So step 5 is the motor. So we need this little piece here and this piece here. They look like they're going to be a pain to get out. Wiggle them. Wiggle it just a little bit. See, wiggle, wiggle. Wiggle, wiggle, and that's going to pop out with some wiggling. So let's wiggle this one. There we go. Wiggle it just a little bit. Thank you. So we have a small hole and a big hole. The motor's already got the pulley attached, so obviously you want the terminals up for the motor, so you can get the wires in later. The pulley wheel goes towards the front, goes inside, so it will literally sit like that. The big hole goes to the back of the motor, fits around the plastic casing like so. I might even put a dab of super glue on that. Right, this one barely goes over the pulley. Doesn't actually attach to anything. So let's just offer it to the board and then we'll worry about gluing and whatnot afterwards. It does make sense to give those little bits of joints just a dusting off with the emery board. It makes them easier to fit and then you can glue them. So just take a bit of material off each side and that should make that easier to go in like so. Just wiggle this one back off the pulley. Did that pulley just move? Yeah, it did a bit. So we'll just take a bit of material off this one. Don't want to do too much, don't go over aggressive. You can always take material off, you can't put it back. Let's try and test fit in that one. There we go, so that's lovely. So now what we'll do is we'll refit the motor into those. In fact, we'd have to, well, we are going to glue it anyway, but let's just back on. Like so. Right, so that's pretty firm in there, but like I said, I would like to just give that a bit of a glue down. So let's pop it back out. I am going to put a dab of super glue on the inside of that one as well. Just a dab of glue on each piece, like a pinprick's worth. It doesn't need a lot. So there's the camera, I don't know if the camera's going to pick that up. Little dab of glue on each, and we'll just slot this in like so. Now a dab of wood glue on each of these. On these you only really want to get it in the corner of those joints. I mean, it will spread out anyway. And let's mount those. Seems easier said than done. Right, that's that end. Get this end in. There we go. So now we can push those in tight. Like so. That's in tight anyway. Right, so far it does suggest that stage 6 is a short screw, and it is pointing towards here. So I think these are just stick them down. I don't think it suggests that we put screws in those, but as I said, I've already stuck those down anyway. So we shall take a short screw and put them, there's a little notch. I mean, I don't think it's going to make any difference because we've glued anyway. There we go, that's nice and tight. That's nice and tight. So that is all mounted now. The motor's glued in. So far, that's what we have. So stage 7, according to the instructions, we want the 2 outer wheels. Just wiggle those out. We want these 2 outer wheels. Just wiggle that piece out of the way. This is the one we want. Like so. And this one. Like so. Take out that middle section. So we've got our 2 outer wheels. And, oh, that one just literally falls out. And our, like, a mill wheel. A crank wheel. So that one's quite smooth, it doesn't really need any sanding. What we need to do next is, number 8, is take our long screws and wash this between these. So we need to line up the holes. Let's get one screw going through, long screw. And these have got, the middle wheel is slightly smaller than the outer wheels. That way, it kind of pulls and pushes each side together. I can hear a buzzard or a red kite out there screeching. So the other wheel on top of that. Can you hear it? I reckon you can hear it as well. Now the reason why there's a difference in circumference is because the inner wheel is creating where the belt's going to go. So for the belt drive, you can see it's sandwiched in between those two larger ones. Right, we missed a hole on that one, so we'll come out a bit, and now we'll reapply. Probably better off using screw bits in that mobile phone tablet repair kit jobby. So we've got two of those in, and the hole here we'll come back to. So screw, so this one can go in here. These are basically self-tapping their way in as well. So the last one basically is creating the thread in the wood. Tight, nice and tight, nice and tight, nice and tight. Right, so that's almost done. We've got the last hole, which is the next stage. Stage 9 or 8 as it should be really in my book. We need, okay, so we need one of these pins. That goes through here, the hole, like so. Then we want one of these orange spacer jobbies. Slide that down. Whoa, if you can. Seems to be fairly tight on there. And then on top of that is the orange. So that's our hand crank completed. So we take another one of those pins. It looks like we get a spare screw of each. Maybe. We definitely get a spare pin by the looks of it. The pin wants to go through the centre of the wheel like so. So we've now got that. Hand crank on this side. Don't want to get that wrong. Stage 11. So we have 3 spacers which look like this. No, that one. There. So again, just wiggle them out. And we have 2 on this sheet. So we take these 3 spacers and we slide those onto our pin. So now we have that 3 spacers on our hand crank, but they're going to slip. So I'm wondering whether this has been designed to hold those in place or not. I don't know. We have a spare one. Oh, that worked well, didn't it? Right, so next stage, I'm guessing, is going to be mounting this onto here, like so. Indeed it is. So we now take our white wheel. It does have a sticky out bit and an indented bit. It looks like from the picture, the sticky out bit must be pointing out the back. But it's okay, we have the ability to crank. Anyway, like I said, that's I'll put the white one on back to front just to see what would happen. Not happy with it. Just push it back on the other way. There we go, happy with that. So what we've got so far is the hand crank is on. We've got the spacers in. We've got the little pulley thing. See, that's got a pulley on it as well. But we've got the pulley thing just to hold it into place. And we're spinning. So we're literally 90% of the way there. What we've got to do now is... So now we need to put a belt on. Comes with 2. I don't think there's any difference between the 2. I think one's just a spare. Right, put it around the motor first, otherwise you're just going to end up having to try and wiggle it out of the groove. And then what we can do is just spin the hand crank round like this, and it will put itself into place. So there we have it. That's now spinning the motor. So stage 14 is, let's flick the soldering iron on. Stage 14 is going to be the wires onto the motor and onto the circuit board. Here's our lamp. It's a USB, so you can just plug this into a USB socket on the wall and it'd just be like a nightlight, literally. Could do a whole bunch of them actually, I quite like that. The circuit board itself is pre-built, sadly, so we have a large capacitor, a coil or choke of some sort. Not sure what that thing is. That looks like a surface mount type MOSFET possibly. There's an LED there, a resistor and a capacitor. So the LED's next to this MOSFET thingy. There's the cap, there's the resistor, and whatever the big thing up there is. Probably some sort of voltage regulator. So plus is on the side of the coil, and negative is on the side of D1, diode 1. And now we'll cream that full of solder, like so. Right, so that is the circuit board connected to the motor stroke generator. Stage 15 or 14, whichever way you want to look at it, is building the final part. So we have these two little, oh, they came up quite easily, and that's dead now. And this last centerpiece here, there we go. So this is the gantry, stage gantry, whatever you want to describe it as, for the motor to sit underneath. It just sits loose, but the lamp, as I said, it's just a USB jobby. The lamp will hold it all in place. So I'm just going to give this all a bit of a sanding down. Again, press, oh shit, press down nice and tight. And that is pretty much it, ladies and gentlemen. Now all we have to do, it's gone up in like this. So we'll plug in the lamp just as the bright sunshine comes, and that just literally wedge fits into there, holds everything in place. So let's get a couple of these shutters down, and there we have it. We crank slowly, we get a flicker, crank fast. And we get a nice, so this is just basically all it is. This is the hand crank generator. But yeah, quite happy with that. I mean, it's not going to come in useful. It's not like we're going to be using this to be reading by or flipping creating light. This is literally just a bit of fun. When you crank slowly, it shows you're getting a bit of power through. This is really wobbly. So that's it. That's this video build done. I would have liked a different colour one. I don't want to break it open to change the colour of the LED. That would be a bit for no reason. But that's fun. So I don't know how much editing I'm going to do in this video. Could be a long one. But it was a fun one.
Always one way, either way around. Not the case with capacitors. Some of those are polarized in different parts. The higher values are polarized.
Thanks for watching.
And the lower
Well, that went.
ceramics.
Oh. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Comments below. I'll see you in the next video.
Okay, so now I'll also